Hello and welcome to Arts Overlook. I'm your host, John Stanish. Today we'll look at a spooky seasonal staple in the Cedar Falls art scene. The latest episode of Arts Overlook starts right now.
Art is thriving in the Cedar Valley. It's everywhere. But if you don't know where to look, you could miss it. This is your local arts perspective. This is the Arts Overlook.
This fall, the ghostly specter of the Headless Horseman has returned to Cedar Falls. Local artist Gary Kelly's original illustrations for The Legend of Sleepy Hollow are one of the Hearst's oldest exhibits, and some of you may not even remember a time before it was shown. The collection is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, and we spoke to Gary about his work.
It was the first book that I could really immerse myself in, and another thing is the story. I absolutely love the story, and being able to go, unfortunately, the schedule dictated that I go to Tarrytown to Sleepy Hollow in the spring, because of the publishing schedule, to do my research, but I was still working on the book in the fall. So, and to me, this is the quintessential autumn story. I've always loved this story. And when Creative Editions sent me a short stack of manuscripts and said, we'd like you to do another book, pick one of these. It took about 30 seconds to choose Sleepy Hollow, because that's always been one of my favorite stories. I just love the atmospheric qualities of Irving's writing in this particular case.
From the listless repose of the place and the peculiar character of its inhabitants, this sequestered glen has long been known by the name of Sleepy Hollow. A drowsy, dreamy influence seems to hang over the land and to pervade the very atmosphere. The whole neighborhood abounds with local tales, haunted spots, and twilight superstitions. The dominant spirit, however, that haunts this enchanted region is the apparition of a figure on horseback without a head.
Well, these are the original illustrations for my version of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which I created for one of my favorite publishers, Creative Editions, I think back in the early 90s. So it's been around a while, but they're all pastels on paper, and I tried to stay as true as I could to the stylistic aspects of the period, which is about the last decade of the 18th century. And I wanted to make everything historically accurate in the pictures. It's not rewritten for little kids. It's the original manuscript by Washington Irving.
Some of the people that are represented actually are based on people in Cedar Falls. I don't know the names of the people because I've only been here for a few years, but for instance, Ichabod Crane, people who live in Cedar Falls and have lived here for quite a while recognize him because they know the person who inspired that.
I probably worked on it off and on for a year. And part of that time, one thing that really made it fun, and I think hopefully made it a better book, made the pictures maybe a little bit better, is the fact that I made it a point to go to Tarrytown, where the story happens, and do my research on site. So what you see in the pictures is I think I'm safe to say that it's pretty much all accurate imagery. It's from the period and from the location, and there are quite a few restorations there. So I could go to a farm from the period that has been restored in Tarrytown. The bridge, the image of the bridge that, of course, Ichabod has to escape across. It's not a covered bridge. All my research, and I dug and dug, could not tell me that covered bridges were common or even invented in that part of America at that time period. So unlike the Disney version or the Johnny Depp version, it would have been highly unlikely that there was a covered bridge in the story. There's a bridge, but not a covered bridge. Then one of the other aspects that I wanted to make sure I got right, and as far as I could tell, I think I'm okay with the facts, was the jack-o'-lantern. And it's hard to find out exactly when jack-o'-lanterns were first carved the way we know them now. And so that was part of the fun of it too, just trying to, I didn't want to play fast and loose with the visual facts. I kind of took a couple of minor liberties with the character. It's a double-page spread, and it's very dark, and the horse is galloping, and I introduced a skull, as a small element, and that was a fun piece to do. There's one of a shattered pumpkin, a small piece that was a frontispiece in the book, and it's just a pumpkin that, and like I said, I was working on it in the fall, so I was able to take a pumpkin off my front porch and take it out to the street and bust it in the street, and then draw from that. But I really, really wanted that to be the cover of the book. I thought the legend of Sleepy Hollow, and then the whole cover is an image of a shattered pumpkin. I mean, to me, that says everything. That's so, but I think the publisher assumed maybe that it wouldn't mean much to the younger readers, so we had to use it inside on the frontispiece in the book. I don't, the landscapes, I'm not normally a landscape painter, but the way Washington Irving writes is so visual and like I said, atmospheric, and I really wanted to do that writing justice with these landscapes.
It was, as I have said, a fine autumnal day. The sky was clear and serene, and nature bore that rich and golden livery which we always associate with the idea of abundance.
As I understand, this exhibit has been up every year since the Hearst acquired it, or virtually every year, and it's become a Halloween tradition.
I think they bought them around 5 years after the Hearst Center opened. And back then they were still sort of defining their mission. And I'm very happy, to be involved with the Art Center, and because since James Hearst was a poet, part of its mission is words and pictures or narratives. And this is obviously a terrific narrative, the story, And so I didn't do the book with the Hearst Center in mind, but once it was finished, they thought it would be a good thing because it appeals to all ages, I think. The story does, and so that's how that all came about. And what they did was go around town back then, and that was the early 90s.
People in the community purchased the original art, all of the original art from the book, and donated it to the Hearst Center. So we've had this art for 25 years now.
I'm happy that the Hearst Center decided they wanted to own the entire collection, because it's nice to have it all together in a place where I can come and visit. I have, like I said, probably 20-some additional books to this one, and there are no others that are in one place. People will buy some of the originals sometimes, and they scatter. So they're never together like this, and so that's what makes this special.
We're celebrating the 25th anniversary of it, and we're very happy to have the complete illustrations from the book. Last week, when just before the opening, Gary came in and he had drawn a new image to go along with this exhibit, and he projected it on the wall and drew it in charcoal, and then went back and sort of smudged it with his fingers. So we've got a Gary Kelly original on the wall that will eventually be painted over. So it'll be up until this exhibit ends, and then it'll be gone. He's done a lot of books for Creative, and he's got a completely different style that's a little more abstract, a little more expressionistic maybe. And if he were doing these illustrations now, he would probably go in that direction.
I'm proud of this, and I like the way it looks, and the work is 20 years old. And like I said, I'm still proud of it, but I'd like to revisit it the way I look at things now and see what would come out different, because it would be a lot different.
He did a book called The Dark Fiddler, and something more like that. It's a little more demonic looking than these are. These are very pretty pictures. This year is the last year it's going to be seen for a little while. It's going to take a rest next year because we're going to have a new exhibit. Gary's doing a book on the Dust Bowl, and I think he'll probably take his inspiration from a completely different source. And we're going to have illustrations from that next year.
I don't make a special trip just to look at it, but I'm here enough that pretty sure, you know, I'm going to be here during the time it's up. I can't drag, my kids are grown and out of the house now, and I can't drag my wife down here to look at it every year. She knows this thing inside out, and she posed for some of these actually. But yeah, I'm usually in the building sometime. Well, there's no formal opening or anything like that every year, but I'm usually in the building sometime, and I was here last night actually, and I have to say they look better than I thought they were going to look.
And then it'll come back the year after. We're going to have the art all rematted, so it'll be a fresh new look for it. And in the meantime, by next year we'll have it in a virtual gallery on the Hearst.org. We'll have new scans made, and it'll be available online. So they won't have to do without it for one Halloween season, and the following year it'll be back and looking better than ever.
I always know that the Hearst Center will take really good care of it. You know, I love the way they hang shows here, and I hope that kids go through this and either generate or retain an appreciation of books, actual books where you turn the page. You don't touch a plastic screen, you actually turn the page, you get to hold the book. I can't imagine when my kids were small reading to them on a Kindle or something. It's not the same. But I hope this can keep the printed book alive,
Once again, these pieces will not be shown next year, so make sure to see them at the Hearst before the exhibit closes on November 27th. Gary's new book about the Dust Bowl will be written by Ruth Vanderzee and published through Creative Editions. It will be available for sale next year at the Hearst, when the artwork will take Sleepy Hollow's place as a fall exhibit. If you like this episode, feel free to share with your friends on social media. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our YouTube channel, right here. This has been Arts Overlook. I'm your host, John Stanish. Thanks for watching.